Alright guys, here we are with break 431. Bit of a spare at the moment. We did have one spot when we rocked up this morning, but Marschall jumped in and grabbed it so we could get this one done today. We are doing a 26 League Heroes combo break, and that features the 26 League Heroes sealed case, the 26 League Heroes hobby, 2 26 League Hero hobby boxes, and 5 26 League Heroes starter packs. Our team list for this one: Broncos, Damien, Clements; Raiders, Joseph, Romeo; Bulldogs, Kyle Hunt; Sharks, Daniel Green; Dolphins, Johnny D; Titans, Dean Mich; Manly, Archie Williams; Storm, Carina, Spiteri; Knights, Johnny D; Cowboys, Stephen Cayce; Eels, Craig Hyde; Panthers, Darin, James Mcdermid; Rabbitohs, Michael Callaghan; Dragons, Marschall; Roosters, Tony Luxton; Warriors, Matthew Hart; Tigers, Chayce Williams. Before we get started, guys, I did try and tag everyone in the Facebook group to let you know we were going live. Unfortunately, some of you aren't in the group. You're missing out on some giveaways and plenty of information in there, guys. As we're coming up to 1,700 members, actually, let's see where we're at. I've got the group up. It'll take me 2 seconds. We not long did our 2,600 member giveaway, and or was it 2,500? I don't know which way we've gone. I thought we were at 2,600. Maybe we've gone back down. I'll have to have a look. But yeah, we're now we're at 2,554 members. So when we hit 2,600, if that's doing it again, then we will have another member milestone. Yeah, I'm not sure which way that's gone actually, to be honest. Alright, well, let's flick over screens and get stuck in, guys. We are all set up and ready to go. We have our hobby boxes, number 1 and 2, and we'll leave them for the end. We have our 5 starter packs, which is what we'll get stuck into first. Once we've got these done, we'll get stuck into the case. Alright, let me bring the chat back up and say g'day, Lee. I hope so for your sake, mate. Yes, helping get this done and dusted. I wasn't looking forward to it selling out today and having to do it tomorrow. So, all right. Now, come on, who picked doggies last night? There won't be too many. I know I didn't. Knocked them down a couple of pegs. Morning, Uncle Al. Now, 5 League Heroes stars. Archie Williams, good morning, mate. Jerome Hughes for the Storm. I don't know, I find it weird that the amount of numbered stuff we have and these aren't numbered. Ethan Strange, league heads for the Raiders. I think it's more so because I'm used to having these. Last week I got the margin right, this week I was 38 points off the margin. Murray Talagi to the Cowboys. An upset will do that. Junior Paulo for the Eels. I don't know why I have a collection of packets here. And our last one, Nicho Hynes for the Sharks. Alright, we have our 15 packets. Let's get them done first. See if we can hit anything. We hit something last time actually, I can't remember what it was now. I think Dalian Predictor. Game Breakers, Hammer for the Dolphins. Luminous, Cody Walker for the Rabbitohs. Yeah, we was about to start rattling off numbers for Luminous. We've done too many hobby cases. Bang, Kalen Ponga for the Knights. Luminous, Brighton Nakora for the Sharks. I had Panthers by 22 when they are margin game 1 to every margin. Gladiators, Scott Drinkwater for the Cowboys, number 593. Yeah, sleeves. Luminous Keezy Apps for the Tigers. Bang, Jaden Sewer for the Dragons. Luminous Jacob Preston for the Bulldogs. League heads Terrell May for the Tigers. Luminous Jeremiah Nanai for the Cowboys. League heads KO Weeks for the Raiders. Luminous Gahamat Shavarsky for the Broncos. League heads Brian To'o for Panthers. Luminous Jason Saab for Manly. Game Breakers Nicho Hynes for the Sharks. Luminous Ryan Pappenhausen for Storm. Red Triumph Jermaine Isako for the Dolphins. Luminous Cody Nikarima for the Dolphins. Had a proud dad moment on the way to work. Kids in the car singing along to the music, and a Steve Aoki and Timmy Trumpet song was on, and my 8-year-old, what is she, 9-year-old, I get in trouble, turns around to me and goes, "Dad, I love Timmy Trumpet, he's awesome." And then the next song, we're both singing away to Linkin Park or Limp Bizkit, I can't remember which one it was. Like, yeah. Mercury at number 116, Tony Staggs for the Broncos. A very weird range of music that I listen to. John Bateman for the Cowboys. Let's hit that. Look, I'm listening to Fall at Your Feet with Dean Lewis by Cyril Riley. Don't know if everyone will know who Cyril Riley is. Red Triumph, Manly. He's actually become quite big, old Cyril. Jamin Salmon, Luminous for the Bulldogs. He was a DJ in one of the local clubs up at Sunny Coast. I found him on social media just randomly and fell in love. He does a lot of old school song remixes with the new stuff. League heads, Damien Cook for the Dragons. Luminous Sam Walker for the Roosters. Bit of random chat. Sharing my movement. Colour die cut, Katoni Stags for the Broncos. Luminous Lycan King Togia. Do you listen to Meatloaf? Well, I can't say I have Meatloaf on my playlist, but yes, I have. I used to enjoy Meatloaf, and it's one of those things that when I listened to that, it was actually some of the first songs I ever downloaded back on LimeWire or whatever it was that it happened to be at the time, and I was making up CDs for my grandparents, downloading at their place. So yeah, Meatloaf holds a special place. Game Breakers, Hamoli Olika R2 for Manly. Luminous Isaac Tago for Panthers. League heads, Cameron Murray for the Rabbitohs. And that's the end of, oh no, we've got a Luminous Kalen Ponga. That is the end of the starter packs. So let's get our retail boxes out and ready to go. No, the red Triumphs are numbered, sorry. The golds in the retail are, and both, or the black and the signature blacks are both numbered as well. Just getting these boxes out of the case, guys, so it's easier to grab them as we go. I could probably just open the box and put it on the floor these days at the moment because we can't see it on video anyway, so it doesn't really benefit us. Alright. We'll just kickstart the boxes. Should be right. Alright, box number 1. I was cramped again today. I remembered to shift things down away from me. Let's put those cards straight in. Colour die cut, Connor Tracy for the Bulldogs. Luminous Casey McLean for Panthers. Bang, Scott Drinkwater for the Cowboys. Luminous Chance Nicole Clockstad for the Warriors. A couple of people in my group workout that I was doing, one of them was actually the coach, but they're over in Nepal doing Mount Everest, and Mitchell, he did 2 of the peaks. I think the other 2 boys only did 1. But they almost got snowed in, and they basically had to get on the chopper without it landing. to get out of there. League heads, Jackson Purdue for the Cowboys. I was watching their video this morning that they posted up. Ethan Sanders for the Raiders. A great accomplishment, but a bit scary. Game breakers, Hugo Savala for the Roosters. Luminous William Kennedy for the Sharks. Jacob Saifiti, colour die cut for the Knights. Luminous Saitili Tupanua for Bulldogs. League heads, Dylan Walker for the Eels. Luminous Sean Russell for the Eels. Game breakers, KO Weeks for the Raiders. Luminous Azali Hopkins for the Dragons. So if you're watching the video yesterday, guys, me and William were actually talking about how many hobby cases were produced. And I was looking at the release information on their website where it says 9,000 boxes. But I was talking to Dad and he mentioned he does have an email with information saying 8,400 boxes. So not sure which one is right, if anyone's following along with that one. Luminous Kurt Mann for the Bulldogs. I did like that about TLA having the numbers on their cases. To be honest, not even the case itself doesn't have to be numbered. I just like seeing how many were produced, and that sort of confirmed it. Red Triumph for the Storm. Luminous James Tedesco for the Roosters. Game breakers, Lehe Hopawate for Manly. Luminous Max Platt for the Dolphins. Let's go Titans. League heads, Sam Walker for the Roosters. Luminous Cameron Murray for the Rabbitohs. Game breakers, Tiana Penatani Gray for the Sharks. Luminous Regan Campbell Gillard for the Titans. Bang Phoenix Crossland for the Knights. Luminous Jackson Purdue for the Cowboys. Game breakers, Bradman Best for the Knights. Luminous Blaze Talagi for Panthers. League heads, Cameron Munster for Storm. Luminous Sanua Taruva for Tigers. League heads, Reece Walsh for the Broncos. Luminous Tom Starling for the Raiders. Colour die cut, Bailey Simonson for the Eels. Luminous Tamika Upton for the Broncos. League heads, Brighton Nakora for the Sharks. Luminous, Jermaine McEwen for the Knights. League heads, Chance Nicole Klokstad for the Warriors. Luminous, Jesse Ramian for the Sharks. Game breakers, Tommy Dearden for the Cowboys. Luminous, Mitchell Barnett for the Warriors. Bang, Jaden Campbell for the Titans. Luminous, Ben Trbojevic for Manly. Daly M. Predictor. Luminous, Will Penasini for the Eels. League heads, Jacob Saifiti for the Knights. Luminous, Jonah Pezzett for Storm. Red Triumph, Tommy Turbo for Manly. Luminous, Matthew Tomoko for the Raiders. Mercury, Scott Drinkwater for the Cowboys, number 206. So I'm not going to lie, I was thinking about this. I seen someone using the pictures that I'd made up for the website today, our double combo, the one with the hobby and the retail box. They've gone and cut the bottom off with our logo and that in it and just using that for their break picture. Tamir Martin for Warriors. And to be honest, like I use the checklist. If you go back over the years, I clean the checklist up and use the backgrounds off them to keep it. It looks like it belongs in the series. You look at it and most people will recognise, oh yeah, that's that one. Game breakers, Cody Walker for the Rabbitohs. Luminous, Jai Gray for the Rabbitohs. So yes, I feel a bit flattered. League heads, Jake Trbojevic for Manly. Luminous, Dominic Young for the Knights. League heads, Keanu Kinney for Titans. Luminous, Reed Marnie for the Cowboys. Bang, Falago for Storm. Luminous, Damien Cook for the Dragons. Game breakers, Luke Metcalf for the Warriors. Luminous, Adam Dewey for the Tigers. Colour die cut, Brendan Smith for the Rabbitohs. Luminous, Molly Olika-Atu for Manly. Bang, Clinton Gutherson for the Dragons. Luminous, Lindsay Collins for the Roosters. League Heads, Ray Stone for the Dolphins. Luminous, Mawaki Photo Ika for the Titans. How about the new jersey? I wonder how long they're going to keep that for, the Titans. Old Chargers, going back old school. I actually like it. I love the colours in it. I think it looks awesome. So, Game Breakers, Apposite Coruscant for the Tigers. Luminous, Ali Brigginshaw for the Broncos. And do we think we're going to lose Cleary? Do we think he's going to go overseas? He'll be closer to Mary. And there's some big money they're offering. Gladiators, Alex Twal for the Tigers, number 96. Luminous, Jermaine Isako for the Dolphins. Bring back the old school jerseys. Some of them, yeah. I wouldn't wish the old school material on anyone though. League Heads, Cody Walker for the Rabbitohs. Actually almost brought a Chargers. There you go. Luminous, Jerome Hughes for Storm. Oh, excuse me. Well, that's box one done, guys. We did hit Dally M Predictor in the first box. So let's see if we can improve on those hits as we go. Actually felt like jerseys. Yeah, I don't know about that. Felt like a potato sack. Game Breakers, Nelson Safa Solomona for Storm. Luminous, Carl Lawton for the Cowboys. I remember when I played for St Mary's and Mount Druitt Raiders, they had those jerseys when I was a kid. Don't miss them at all. Triumph, Latrell Mitchell for the Rabbitohs. Vanilla Pole, Luminous for the Tigers. That's part of the chart. Mr. Cleary in the Mercury, number 4. He's got Panthers, Darin Mcdermid. Fortunately, not the number 1 or the jersey number, but a low number all the same. Cameron McInnes, Luminous for the Sharks. League Heads, Ruben Cotter for the Cowboys. Luminous, Trent LaRoe for Storm. Game Breakers, Ezra Mann for the Broncos. Luminous, Jamal Fogarty for Manly. League Heads, Zach Lomax to the Eels. Luminous, Marata Nakor for the Warriors. Game breakers, Max King for the Bulldogs. Luminous Moses Leota for Panthers. I mean, that is one of the good things about the hobby. Doesn't matter how you're in the hobby, you're very much a part of it. You don't have to collect anything specific. You don't have to collect the new stuff, you don't have to collect the old stuff, you don't have to collect the high end or the low end. The true collectors are inclusive of all types of collecting, so it's awesome. I love it. It's, yeah. Alex Twal die cut for Tigers, and no shameless plug, you know, but we go all the way back to 1963, so plenty of opportunities to fill those spots and rekindle that nostalgia. Jermaine Hopgood for the Eels. League heads, Dylan Edwards for Panthers. Mackenzie Wheel, Luminous for the Cowboys. Game breakers, Bree Chester for the Cowboys. Luminous, Jaden Sewer for the Dragons. Instant win. Come on, can't be far away from hearing what they are. That's it. Dylan Lucas, Luminous for the Knights. Can collect what you want and how you want. That's... Don't ever let anyone tell you any different. Colour die cut, Jake Jabojevic for Manly. Luminous Samula Fainu for the Tigers. I think one of the biggest taboos in the hobby, and I don't understand it, because most of the people that do it are collecting it for their own personal collection, and that's getting the cards signed. Like, because of what we do, we know quite a few people that buy the cards specifically to get the signatures. And yes, they're getting multiple signatures off the same player, but the people I'm talking about are actually only getting one of each card signed. Yeah, so some people would be devastated in the cards that they get signed, and that's what they love doing. So it's each to their own, and do as you please. Bang Fanua Pole for the Tigers. Luminous Lachlan Galvin for the Bulldogs. At the end of the day, they're your cards, they're nobody else's. Game breakers, Sanua Taruva for Tigers. Luminous Adam Reynolds for the Broncos. League heads, Patrick Carrigan for the Broncos. Luminous Hugo Savala for the Roosters. Hang on. Uncle Al. Are you not Uncle Al and someone else that I should know who you are? Just based on that comment. KO Weeks for the Raiders. It just rang some bells. Luminous for the Storm. To put it quite bluntly, do you have some trivia for me, Uncle Al? Because that's League heads, Corey Horsburgh for the Raiders. Luminous, Brendan Smith for the Rabbitohs. Colour die cuts, Hudson Young for the Raiders. Luminous, Appy Nichols. I should know who you are, but not by that name. Appy Nichols for the Warriors. Yeah. Bang, Alex Johnston for the Rabbitohs. Luminous, Tamale for the Raiders. League heads, Stephen Crichton for the Bulldogs. Luminous, Emma Veron for the Sharks. I wasn't trying to figure it out until you said. Yes, I know who you are in saying that. I can't think of your name. I'm having a mental blank. But yes, I know who you are. I've been waiting for your trivia. Game breakers, Jamie Humphries for the Rabbitohs. Luminous, Ray Stone for the Dolphins. And yeah, last I knew you weren't joining us because you had work at these times. I'm having a complete mental blank of your name though. I'm still trying to spit it out. Triumph, Joseph Tarpanay for the Raiders. Luminous, Stephen Crichton for the Bulldogs. I can see your picture on Facebook too. Mate, that's no worries. Look, to be honest, at the times that we do our breaks, because that suits us and we can get them done and they can always be rewatched later, I don't expect many people to be joining us on a weekday at 10 AM. Yeah. League heads, Blake Brayley for the Sharks. Luminous, Philip Semi for the Titans. I'll message you after because I'll think of it as soon as we stop the video. Bang, Lachlan Galvin for the Bulldogs. Patrick Carrigan, Luminous for the Broncos. Oh. I feel so bad. League heads, Herbie Farnworth for the Dolphins. Luminous, Dane Gagai for the Knights. League heads, Regan Campbell-Gillard for the Titans. Luminous, Kyle Flanagan for the Dragons. Alex! Ha! Game breakers, Nico Hines for the Sharks. To be honest, I couldn't get Ben Patterson out of my head, but it's Alex. Angelina, Luminous for the Bulldogs. Uncle Al, of course. And now the 86 even makes sense. God damn. Bang, Val Holmes for the Dragons. Luminous, Zach Lomax for the Eels. League heads, Ethan Bullymore for Manly. Luminous, Nathan Cleary for Panthers. Gladiators, Jack Williams for the Eels, number 502. Luminous, Jamie Humphries for the Rabbitohs. Game Breakers, Hammer for the Dolphins. Luminous, Billy Walters for the Broncos. You know, I was actually waiting, I was hoping you joined around a couple of weeks ago when Alex Johnston got the all-time try scorers. Because we're talking about that because I was seeing posts. Regarding, he wasn't actually the all-time rugby league try scorer. League heads Xavier Coates for Storm, and I knew you'd be all over that. Well, I thought you would be anyway. Luminous Joseph Tarpanay for the Raiders. I'm shocking at the trivia, but I always look forward to it, Alex, so yeah. I never get them, and I can't remember them. My memory is just shot. Game Breakers, Hamoli Olika R2 for Manly. Luminous Greg Marshew for Knights. I think I went to say it yesterday or the day before, but I have notes on my doors as I'm leaving the house. Have you got everything? Have you got your laptop? Because I've quite regularly turned up to work and gotten out of my car and went to grab my bag and had to turn around and go home. Jalen de Groot bang for Titans. AJ Brimson Luminous for the Titans. Yes, I understand that part of it, but for a 50-year-old record to be broken, no matter by who or which team, it makes it pretty special, not only for the person that broke it, for the person that held it. To be able to hold that record for 50 years, that's a special achievement in itself. James Tedesco, bang for the Roosters. Luminous Kuli Kefu for the Dolphins. 2 out of 2 covered hits, doing pretty well. Yes, the only way it could have got better is if we would have hit something out of those starter packs. But we are only doing 5, so we can't. League heads, Phoenix Crossland for the Knights. Luminous Daniel Tupou for the Roosters. I thought I put that in the wrong slot. That's alright, it's fixed now. What did we get? We got a Dally M in the first box, and we got an instant win in this one. So, not a bad start. Come up with a question here is that, did you know North hold a perfect record against the Broncos? No, I did not. But let's be honest, if it's only 2-0, it's not much of a record. But not many teams they can say they have a perfect record against the Broncos in the finals game. As much as I bag on the Broncos, they have had their moments, even winning last year as the Premiers, but they've had their moments where they've definitely been the force to contend with. Yeah, well, there you go. See, that's exactly what I mean. Like, Broncos, I don't care how down they are, they are still a team that you have to turn up for. Because if they smell the blood and they get into it, it's hard. Game Breakers, Bo Fermor for the Titans. Luminous Keanu Kinney for the Titans. And most of our bagging on the Broncos comes from me and Dad bagging out Mum and my brother Brody. So it's more of an inside joke dig than what it is at the actual club. Red Triumph, Brendan Smith for the Rabbitohs. Luminous Kyle Flanagan for the Dragons. But I do believe in, as far as the salary cap and all that goes, they do find colourful ways of getting around it. Like most of the women's team are also employed at the actual club. So league heads, Hamoli Olika-Atu for Manly. Luminous Angelina for the Bulldogs. You know what? I think most NRL supporters, except for Broncos fans, are pros at bagging out the Broncos. Bang, Tommy Darin for the Cowboys. Luminous Zach Lomax for the Eels. Broncos and Doggies. I think they cop the most out of all the teams. Game breakers Morgan Smithies for the Raiders. Luminous Nathan Cleary for Panthers. Being a Western Sydney boy, yes, that was one of our go-tos. Hanging on the Bulldogs, fans mainly. Bradman Best, Bang for Knights. Luminous Carl Lawton for the Cowboys. All-time Grails is coming in the mail today. Ooh. Colour die cut, Cameron Munster for Storm. What do you got? What do you got? Jamie Humphries, Luminous for the Rabbitohs. League heads, James Tedesco for the Roosters. Luminous Billy Walters for the Broncos. Nice. Bang, Marky Mark for the Roosters. Luminous Joseph Tarpanay for the Raiders. Game breakers, Joash for the Eels. Luminous Greg Marschall for the Knights. I will remind everyone again, guys, that if you would like to chat with us in the comments, please remember you must be subscribed to the channel and have an actual account. It is to stop the spam. We found a few bots were posting, I'll call them bots, well, who knows what they were, but yeah, we'll call them bots, posting links that were very unwanted in the chat, so we've tried to restrict that. Colour die cut, Jesse Ramian for the Sharks. Luminous Kuli Kefu for the Dolphins. League heads, Luke Metcalf for the Warriors. Luminous Daniel Tupou for the Roosters. Game breakers, James Tedesco for the Roosters. Luminous Appy Nichols for the Warriors. League Heads Cameron McInnes for the Sharks. Luminous Fanua Pole for the Tigers. Game Breakers Zaya Katoa for Dolphins. Luminous Cameron McInnes for Sharks. Mercury Xavier Savage for the Raiders, number 38. Luminous Trent LaRoe for Storm. League Heads Kalen Ponga for the Knights. Luminous Jamal Fogarty for Manly. So if you're just joining, I've seen the numbers jumping up and down. We are halfway through our third box. We did start a bit spare of the moment this morning, last minute. Dragons was still available and sold out this morning. So Game Breakers Jerome Luai for the Tigers. Luminous Jaden Sewer for the Dragons. Bang, AJ Brimson for the Titans. Luminous AJ Brimson for the Titans. Game Breakers Appy Nichols for the Warriors. Luminous Murata Nakor for the Warriors. League Heads Apisai Coruscant for Tigers. Luminous Moses Leota for Panthers. Have you been active on Facebook, Alex? I turned the notifications off for the Pick the Score giveaway. But yeah, just curious. Colour die cut Cody Walker for the Rabbitohs. Luminous Jermaine Hopgood for Eels. And I don't look at the names when I'm going through the scores. There is too many. Get through it as quick as possible. League Heads Adam Reynolds for the Broncos. Luminous Mackenzie Wheel for the Cowboys. Clive Churchill Medal. Luminous Dylan Lucas for the Knights. League Heads Brian Kelly for the Titans. Have you been on Facebook lately? Are you being active in the group? Lachlan Galvin, Luminous for the Bulldogs. Getting your entries in. Red Triumph, AJ Brimson for the Titans. Luminous Tyson Frizzell for Knights. League Heads Will Penasini for the Eels. Luminous Jalen de Groot for Titans. Yeah, as I said, I've been turning the notifications off for the post, so I wouldn't actually know who's been in them. Game breakers, Valami kicker for the Bulldogs. Luminous Corey Horsburgh for the Raiders. League heads, Joseph Tarpanay for Raiders. Luminous Cassie Hiku for the Eels. Bang, Xavier Coates for Storm. Luminous Marky Mark for the Roosters. Colour die cut Blaze Talagi for Panthers. Luminous Jai Arrow for the Rabbitohs. League heads, Jeremiah Nanai for the Cowboys. Luminous Tom Gilbert for the Dolphins. Gladiators, Jacob Preston for the Bulldogs, number 219. Luminous Wade Egan for the Warriors. Game breakers, Tegan Berry for the Dragons. Luminous Latu Finu for the Tigers. 2 packets left for the box. Bang, Damien Cook for the Dragons. Luminous Ezra Mam for Broncos. League heads, Max King for Bulldogs. Luminous Tom Dearden for Cowboys. Another box done and dusted. Alright, let's go. No, we just lost half our viewers all of a sudden. Okay then, see you later. Bang, Adam Reynolds for the Broncos. Luminous Sebastian Chris for the Raiders. Must be end of smoker, end of lunch. League heads, Xavier Willison for the Broncos. Luminous Phoenix Crossland for the Knights. League heads, Murray Talagi for Cowboys. Luminous Ruben Cotter for the Cowboys. Red Triumph, Jerome Luai for the Tigers. Luminous Angus Crichton for the Roosters. Before we went live, guys, we still had Dolphins and Titans in break 432, and that is a 26 League Heroes hobby case with the bonus hobby box. Game breakers, Sebastian Chris for the Raiders. Luminous, Jaden Campbell for the Titans. League heads, Hammer for the Dolphins. Luminous, Taylor Preston for the Bulldogs. Colour die cut, Loco Tonga for the Dragons. Luminous, Ethan Bullymore for Manly. Bang, Apasai Coruscant for Tigers. Luminous, Jesse Colhoun for the Sharks. League heads, Hudson Young for the Raiders. Luminous, Kurt Capewell for the Warriors. Game breakers, Wade Egan for the Warriors. Luminous, Campbell Graham for the Rabbitohs. Colour die cut, Ray Stone for the Dolphins. Luminous, Dream Buller for the Tigers. Game breakers, Jermaine Isako for Dolphins. Luminous, Xavier Coates for Storm. Bang, Kale Iro for the Sharks. Luminous, Herbie Farmworth for the Dolphins. League heads, Alex Twile for Tigers. Luminous, Dylan Egan for the Dragons. Mercury, Addo Carr for the Eels, number 170. It's funny, we're actually talking about him yesterday, and Abby Church, Luminous for the Eels. We're talking about how my partner grew up with him, behind him in that area, and he mentioned that his cousin that she also went to school with as a kid was at her work, Dreamworld, yesterday. She messaged her to say that she was there and seen her, but didn't want to disturb her because she was flat out. Game breakers, Jackson Purdue for the Cowboys. Spencer Lanu, Luminous for the Roosters. What club played in both the first ever game of rugby league in the New South Wales Rugby League and the first ever finals game? Dad? Don't know. Dad calls it Roosters, and given who it is, then I wouldn't be surprised if that is correct. I'm going to go... Oh, I don't want to get caught here. Let's go Dragons. Asai Yongi for the Eels. We'll go St. George. Not Illawarra. League heads, Connor Tracy for the Bulldogs. Isaiah Yo, Luminous for Panthers. Anyone else? Feel free to jump in the chat. What club played in both both the first ever game of rugby league in New South Wales Rugby League and the first ever finals game. Bang Jai Gray for the Rabbitohs. Don't cheat, don't Google. Dylan Brown, Luminous for the Knights. I have no idea. I've gone with Dragons, and Dad has guessed Roosters as he made a special appearance, putting some more orders on the table ready to be sent out. League heads, Kyle Flanagan for the Dragons. Luminous, Clinton Gutherson for the Dragons. Colour die cut, Jackson Purdue for the Cowboys. Luminous, Ben Hunt for the Broncos. Red Triumph for the Roosters. Luminous, Jack Whiten for the Rabbitohs. League heads, Stefano Utikamanu for Storm. Luminous, Matt Burton for the Bulldogs. Bang Dylan Edwards for Panthers. Tony's going Broncos. Luminous, Jamie Chapman for the Titans. And I'm tipping that's wrong, being it was the first game of rugby league in the New South Wales Rugby League. League heads, Dominic Young for the Knights. Now that could be a trick question, Tony, and you might be right, mate. I'm not sure. Jerome Lloyd, Luminous for the Tigers. Delhi M Predictor Wild. Luminous, Hudson Young for the Raiders. Now. Game Breakers, Patrick Carrigan for the Broncos. Luminous, Felice Kafusi for Dolphins. We're not talking about Super League, Tony, you know. Have to go and make our own comp. Gladiators, Mr. White for the Roosters, number 45. Luminous, Ethan Strange for the Raiders. League heads, Jack Williams for the Eels. Luminous, Lachlan Elias for the Dragons. And he's dropped off some more materials to finish his room off, so that's a good sign. Bang Dylan Lucas for the Knights. Luminous, Billy Smith for the Roosters. Game Breakers, Ben Trebojevic for Manly. Luminous, Max King for the Bulldogs. Colour die cut, Riley Smith for the Eels. Luminous, Lyshan Albert Jones for the Warriors. League heads Braden Trindle for the Sharks. Luminous Reece Walsh for Broncos. 3 packets left. Game breakers Alex Seyfarth for the Tigers. Luminous Tolator Koala for Manly. First ever game, Norths lost both. There you go. Oh, so I've gone Rabbits and Dad's gone Roosters, and we're the opposite depending on which one. Funny that. At least we're both in the right ballpark. But I should have known. If it wasn't a Roosters fact, it was a Bears. League heads, Tommy Turbo for Manly. It's amazing, isn't it, that the Bears are such a predominant team in the game of rugby league, and yet we lost them at some point. So it's good to be having them back in the comp, I think. Dylan Edwards, Luminous for Panthers. I really don't like the idea of this 20th team being a Queensland or a New Zealand team. I really think we need to go somewhere that we're not. We need to keep making it national. We're a national sport, but we're not national. Game breakers, Olivia Koenig for the Roosters. And you can't tell me another team in Queensland is going to have any more of a supporter base than Adelaide. Like, there you go. Luminous Payne Haas for the Broncos. Yeah, see that's, and I'm all for Steelers coming back too, but we don't need any more Sydney teams. So if they want to do something like the Bears have done and separate from Dragons, then let's do it. But yeah. You have a radical suggestion about the 20th team. Let's bring it on. There you go. That's Game breakers, Jerome Hughes for Storm. Luminous Samuel Stone Street for the Sharks. Great minds think alike, Alex. Bang Luke Brooks for Manly. Luminous Jacob Carraz for Bulldogs. There you go. Perfect. Gladiators Dominic Young for the Knights, number 393. Yep, moving to Adelaide and let him come back and play a couple of token games for the supporters, I reckon. Alex Seyfarth, Luminous for the Tigers. League heads, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck for the Warriors. Luminous Keon Kolomatangi for the Rabbits. Colour die cut Griffin Neem for Cowboys. Look, I'm all for all that, except New Zealand and Brisbane need to wait. We've got plenty of other places that we can put teams, and I think I'd go New Zealand before Brisbane. Like, we've got 3 teams here now, and 4 teams in a short distance. Like, yeah, I don't know. Luminous Ali Latua for the Warriors. Game Breakers Tyson Frizzell for the Knights. Luminous Jordan Ricky for the Broncos. Bang Asaya Iongi for the Eels. Luminous Jessica Surgis for the Roosters. League Heads Ronaldo Molitalo for the Sharks. Luminous Mitchell Moses for the Eels. Colour die cuts Keanu Kinney for the Titans. Team in Rocky Wood Flop. Harry Grant, Luminous for the Storm. You say that, but many would say the same thing about WA and the Bears. So Ipswich Newtown merger, hey? That would be interesting. I know Newey has quite a decent following in itself. Bang Dean Mariner for the Broncos. Luminous Connolly Loomy Lou for the Dolphins. If we're bringing the Jets into it, then we need to bring Mcdermid. Sorry. League Heads Jaden Sewer for the Dragons. Luminous Ronaldo Molitalo for the Sharks. I agree that Brown Park Stadium is a minute walk from my house, and it would be nice being able. Bang Sebastian Chris for the Raiders. Luminous Jacob Saifiti for the Knights. Game Breakers Tanila Paseka for Manly. Luminous Zach Labert for Cowboys. League Heads Terrell May for Tigers. Luminous Loco Tonga for the Dragons. Mercury AJ Brimson for the Titans, number 302. Luminous Luke Brooks for Manly. League Heads Gehamat Shabarsky for the Broncos. Luminous Isaiah Katoa for the Dolphins. Game Breakers Liam Martin for Panthers. Luminous Xavier Savage for the Raiders. League Heads, Alafiana Khan-Piera for Titans. Luminous Georgia Hale for the Titans. Colour die cut Katoni Staggs for the Broncos. Luminous Josh Kerr for the Dragons. Why not, eh? League Heads, Cody Nikarima for the Dolphins. Luminous Tanila Paseka for Manly. League Heads, Jacob Carraz for the Bulldogs. Luminous Sam Walker for the Roosters. They should do Magic Round out there. Colour die cut Jaden Sewer for the Dragons. Luminous John Bateman for the Cowboys. Bring some tourism to Rocky. Game Breakers, Cooley Kefu for the Dolphins. Jamin Salmon, Luminous for the Bulldogs. Game Breakers, Loco Tonga for the Dragons. Luminous Luke Metcalf for the Warriors. At least accommodation would be cheaper. Well, you'd hope so. Bang Leka Halasima for the Warriors. We're all camping at Alex's house. Cameron Munster, Luminous for Storm. League Heads, Jason Saab for Manly. Luminous Brian Kelly for Titans. Game Breakers, Mahalia Murphy for the Eels. Luminous Bailey Simpson for the Eels. See, Cats, that's a funny situation. Triumph, Jeremiah Nano for the Cowboys. Luminous Jesse Southwell for the Knights. I like pretty much all the cats when I go and visit someone's house and they have a cat running around inside the house, especially if they're playful. But the cats that want to, and it's not even the cat's fault, it's the owners. The owners that want to let their cats out near my place, and their cats, they had one spot around the side of the house that they used to use as a kitty litter. We'll use it politely. And every time I opened the girl's window, it would just stink like a kitty litter coming through there. Well, now they've started using my back patio area outside my back door, where we go and sit outside. That is not cool, people. Gold colour die cut Daniel Tupou for the Roosters. Luminous Luciano Leilua for the Dragons. Now, I wouldn't do it, but to scare the people around me, I've been contemplating putting a post up in the local area group asking if it was okay to euthanize the cats like we do for the rodents for snakes. Got some big pythons we could feed the cats to. League heads Lindsay Smith for Panthers. Luminous Sarah Togatuki for Tigers. And they're supposed to be, that's the rules. You're not supposed to be letting them outside to roam. Like we have stuff all native birds around our area. And animals, like we see no reptiles or anything like that. We've got bush areas near us. And you can only put it down to that. That and those, I think they're Indian miners, the brown and yellow beaks. League heads Robert Toyer for the Roosters. Luminous Katoni Staggs for Broncos. But I mean, if you do want to let your cats outside to roam, you can buy those big cat fences and enclosures and that are meant for outside. There are options. Not letting your cat in my yard to use it. Game breakers Alafiana Khan Piera for Titans. Luminous Asaya Papali'i for Panthers. League heads Cameron Murray for the Rabbitohs. Luminous Ruben Garrick for Manly. Bang Jack Bostock for the Dolphins. Luminous Mich Kenny for Panthers. And that's fair. That's most people that have pet. Yeah, that's their main priority. Look at the amount of money that gets spent on vet bills. Like, most pets are part of the family. Game breakers, Adam Fanua Blake for the Sharks. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure a lot of these people that let their cat roam feel that same way. Adam Fanua Blake for the Shark. But yeah, your cats don't take priority over my area. The other option is I go and get a cat trap and they get charged $500 each time I catch one. Triumph for the Sharkies. Bailey Hayward, Luminous for Bulldogs. And that is box number 5, done and dusted. Since we've been talking something completely irrelevant, guys, just a reminder, still time to go and get your entry into the Pick the Score giveaway in the Facebook group. If you've already made a purchase this year, then it is free to enter. Just go and leave your entry. We have added like the post, but you'll notice there is a please and there's no, if you don't like, your entry won't be valid. Hitting that like button on that post in the Facebook group, guys, all it does is promotes that post to other people in the group. So if they're not in the group, it doesn't do anything, but it helps everyone else see it. We know there's a lot of stuff that goes on in Facebook and your feeds get filled up. So hitting that like button just puts it in other people's feeds and gives everyone a chance to be a part of it. League heads, Liam Martin for Panthers. Hugo Savala, Luminous for the Roosters. Colour die cut, Max Plath for Dolphins. Luminous Brian To'o for Panthers. Game breakers, Dylan Egan for the Dragons. Luminous Luke Lord-Lilly for Tigers. Bang Nico Hines for the Sharks. Luminous Murray Talagi for Cowboys. League heads, Cohen Hess for Cowboys. Luminous Chanel Harris Tavita for the Warriors. Colour die cut Maratta Nakor for the Warriors. Luminous Blake Brayley for the Sharks. Game breakers Jaden Campbell for the Titans. Luminous Moses Sulai for the Dragons. Gladiators Jack Whiten for the Rabbitohs, number 112. Luminous Dylan Walker for the Eels. League heads Jacob Little for the Dragons. Luminous Zahara Temera for the Raiders. Game breakers Bailey Simonson for the Eels. Luminous Lindsay Smith for Panthers. Gold die cut Sanua Taruva for Tigers. Luminous Fletcher Sharp for the Knights. League heads Chanel Harris Tavita for the Warriors. Luminous Xavier Willison for the Broncos. Red Triumph for the Bulldogs. Luminous Tommy Turbo for Manly. Game breakers Blaze Talagi for Panthers. Luminous Latrell Mitchell for the Rabbitohs. League heads Ezra Mam for the Broncos. Luminous Connor Tracy for the Bulldogs. Game breakers Cameron Murray for the Rabbitohs. Luminous Roger Tuivasa Sheck for the Warriors. League heads Tom Starling for the Raiders. Luminous Tiana Penatani Gray for the Sharks. Bang Matt Burton for the Bulldogs. Luminous Terrell May for the Tigers. League heads Junior Paulo for the Eels. Luminous Brendan Smith for the Rabbitohs. Game breakers Jeremiah Nanai for the Cowboys. Luminous Tamale for the Raiders. Colour die cut Matthew Tomoko for the Raiders. Luminous Emma Barron for the Sharks. League heads Ethan Strange for the Raiders. Luminous Samula Finu for the Tigers. Mercury Spencer Leno for the Roosters, number 45. Luminous Ray Stone for the Dolphins. Game Breakers Campbell Graham for the Rabbitohs. Luminous Stephen Crichton for the Bulldogs. Seen Matty Burton getting called out for flicking a ball up in the air inside the in-goal zone by Nathan Cleary, who was getting set up to do a kick. Bang Ezra Mam for the Broncos. Luminous Adam Reynolds for the Broncos. And with Cleary missing the kick, they're calling it out that that was illegal. He was deliberately trying to distract him. League heads Latrell Mitchell for the Rabbitohs. Luminous Philip Semi for the Titans. Bang Dream Buller for the Tigers. Luminous Patrick Carrigan for the Broncos. League heads Jerome Hughes for Storm. Luminous Dane Gagai for Knights. Colour die cut Ben Trebojevic for Manly. Luminous Connor Watson for the Roosters. Now I'm trying to remember what that... League heads Connolly Lumi Lou for Dolphins. Luminous Tui Kami Kamika for Storm. Now I know. Yeah. Yes. Game Breakers Samaima Torfa for the Raiders. Luminous Jake Trebojevic for Manly. But I mean, is it a fair point, Alex? Regardless, like, two wrongs don't make a right. Bang Campbell Graham for the Rabbitohs. Luminous Sean Kepi for the Rabbitohs. And if you then say that it's all right because Panthers do it, then it becomes a normal thing. Like, now I'm then on the fence on that one too. Like, should our players be professional enough that they should be able to put that out of their mind and do what they're doing? Or is it like a professional foul, like the other teams deliberately trying to balk them? I don't know. Red Triumph, Sebastian Kring for the Raiders. Yes, from the picture, from what I've seen, yes, that is correct. But he hadn't kicked the ball yet, so easily putting him off. Like Tegan Berry, Luminous for the Dragons. The only argument against that point of putting him off midway through is at that point in time, once he's started that motion, he's normally looking straight at that ball to make sure he hits that spot. But league heads, a Valami kick out for the Bulldogs. Luminous white for the Roosters. Bang, Nathan Cleary for Panthers. Luminous Jack Bostock for Dolphins. If the boot's already made contact, well then that's fair call, just get over it. But if boot hasn't made contact, yes, there you go, Alex. So yeah. Game breakers, Reece Welch for the Broncos. Callaghan, Luminous for Storm. And that's the end of another box. Box number 6. I am going to go get a drink because it is a bit warm out here and I'm feeling a bit dry. So just bear with me a moment, guys. I'll only be a minute, won't be long. We're back. Have a quick drink of this and we'll get into box number 7. Watch, by the time we get the aircon back out here when it's finished, we'll be in the middle of winter and we won't need it. Alright. Box number 6 cleaned up. Let's get into box number 7, the start of the second half of the case. League heads, Dream Baller for the Tigers. Luminous for white for the Roosters. Game breakers, Shaley Bent for Titans. Luminous Jack Bostock for Dolphins. Colour die cuts, Charlie Staines for the Tigers. Luminous Lindsay Smith for Panthers. League heads, Damien Cook for the Dragons. Luminous Fletcher Sharp for the Knights. Game breakers, Mitchell Moses for the Eels. Luminous Xavier Willison for the Broncos. Bang, Jerome Hughes for Storm. Luminous Tommy Turbo for Manly. League heads, Nathan Cleary for Panthers. Hey, do you think rugby league should get ultra high end products like they get in the US market? Luminous Latrell Mitchell for the Rabbitohs. The funny, you say that. Look at the AFL. They have some pretty high-end cards. And listening to a bit of the chatter, like, the general consensus is yes, we will be getting those high-end releases. And yes, at least the first run will sell well. After that, I don't know. It depends on how the first one is accepted, and yeah. League heads, AJ Brimson for the Titans. Luminous Moses Sulai for the Dragons. Now, there's lots of new names on Facebook, but I can tell you there is just as many new names coming through the website. So it's not just new people popping up in Facebook. It's people buying single cards to complete sets. We're seeing it. So I really don't know. It's like it's changed overnight with the amount of people coming in. And the only thing I can put it down to is the recent videos that you've seen from NRL, the Rugby League Players Association. There's more people getting behind the marketing for it. So I don't know. James Schiller for the Knights. Luminous Alex Twile for the Tigers. If they did well on their first one and produced something that everybody loved, yes, I think it would continue to do well. But the old school card rugby league community, they're funny. They like things certain ways. So we'll have to see. League heads, Mitchell Barnett for the Warriors. Luminous Darin Wishart for the Storm. Don't always like it because someone else is doing it. It doesn't always work for the NRL cards. Game Breakers, Tamir Martin for the Warriors. But personally, I am looking forward to it. I can't wait to open some of it if it comes out. If it's anything close to the AFL stuff, there are some awesome cards. So, Kira Dib Luminous for Cowboys. Opening some of them in some breaks. Yeah, I don't think the values would get there. Not like that. But I think the NRL could easily match the AFL. Game Breakers, Cameron McInnes for the Sharks. Luminous Dylan Walker for the Eels. Bang, Casey McLean for Panthers. Luminous Braden Trindle for the Sharks. League heads, John Bateman for the Cowboys. Luminous Sam Verrills for the Titans. Mercury Ezra Mam for the Broncos, number 343. also one card products. What are your thoughts on those? Like the Bromley AFL did a few years ago. One card product. As in you're basically essentially buying a box and getting one card in it. Is that what we're talking about? Or I'm not exactly sure on that one, Alex. Not yet in the tray. There may be something underneath the cards, Archie. To be honest, I can't remember what's under there. Luminous Bradman, best for the Knights. I've been pretty distracted this break having a chat. One card per box. Yeah, look, once again, that's hard. If you hit your team in that, then you're cheering. But you start hitting other cards, other teams. If you're not a Titans supporter and you hit Titans, they're hard to move on. Yeah, I don't know. Red Triumph, Bradman, best for the Knights. Luminous Junior Paulo for the Eels. We've had one-on-ones for the last few years up until now. Well, we may still have them, but yeah, in Elite, we've had the one-on-one Gold Futurers. Bang, William Kennedy for the Sharks. And personally, I love them. I think they are awesome. And printing plates. Luminous Jason Tormalolo for the Cowboys. Maybe they could be part of the instant wins, Alex. The printing plates. Oh. Thank you, Duck. League heads, Lindsay Collins for the Roosters. Luminous Bo Fermor for Titans. League heads, Luke Brooks for Manly. Luminous Zahara Temera for Raiders. Game Breakers, Fletcher Sharp for the Knights. Luminous Brian Top for Panthers. Colour die cuts, Sam Walker for the Roosters. Luminous Luke Lorlelli for Tigers. Game Breakers, Val Holmes for the Dragons. Luminous Murray Talagi for the Cowboys. League heads, Nelson Asofa Solomona for Storm. Luminous Chanel Harris Tavita for the Warriors. Bang, Toltor Koala for Manly. Luminous Tui Kamikamika for Storm. League heads, Bradman Best for the Knights. Luminous Blake Brayley for Sharks. Colour die cuts, Roger Tuivasa Check for the Warriors. Luminous Jake Trebojevic for Manly. Bang, Ethan Strange for the Raiders. Luminous Sean Kepi for the Rabbitohs. Gladiators, Braden Trindle for the Sharks, number 201. Luminous, Connor Watson for the Roosters. Game Breakers, Lindsay Smith for Panthers. The thing I liked about Mojos was collecting rainbows. Tegan Berry, Luminous for the Dragons. It's funny, the Mojos have been brought up regarding pricing. Chasing 1 of 5 cards for the price that they go for compared to chasing some of these. Yeah. Red Triumphs for the Dragons. Luminous Connor Tracy for the Bulldogs. League Heads, Jai Arrow for the Rabbitohs. Luminous Roger Tulvasa Sheck for the Warriors. Game Breakers, Latrell Mitchell for the Rabbitohs. Luminous Tiana Penatani Gray for the Sharks. Saitili Tupanua die cut for the Bulldogs. Luminous Terrell May for the Tigers. League Heads, Jermaine Hopgood for the Eels. Luminous Jack Williams for the Eels. Bang, Zach Labour for Cowboys. Luminous Stefano Utikamanu for Storm. And last packet for the box. Game Breakers, Joseph Tarpanay for the Raiders, and KO Weeks Luminous for the Raiders. Put it in the Raiders and not Manly. I was just sitting there thinking about Archie. Oh, that was close. That could have been completely devastating. But as I said, Archie, just remember, we do have these larger hits on the table, so hopefully Manly's already got one sitting there. And we have the 2 hobby boxes to finish off the break at the end. So hopefully it's karma holding off for you, and we're going to hit big soon or at the end. Still plenty to go, mate. Quick drink. All right, box number 8. With biscuit stuff. Bang, Brian Kelly for the Titans. Luminous, Regan Campbell-Gillard for the Titans. Where is RCG this year? Game Breakers, Sophie Holloman for the Raiders. Luminous, Ben Trbojevic for Manly. Red Triumph, Brighton Nakora for the Sharks. Luminous, Jackson Purdue for Cowboys. League Heads, Spencer Leonard for the Roosters. Luminous, Blaze Talagi for Panthers. Game Breakers, Tommy Turbo for Manly. Luminous, Tom Starling for the Raiders. League Heads, Samula Fainu for the Tigers. Luminous, Tamika Upton for the Broncos. Bang, Jerome Luai for the Tigers. Luminous, Jesse Ramian for the Sharks. League Heads, Morgan Smithies for the Raiders. Luminous, Mitchell Barnett for the Warriors. Colour die cut, Moses Sulai for the Dragons. Luminous, Sanua Taruva for Tigers. League Heads, Nico Hines for the Sharks. Luminous, Will Penasini for the Eels. Excuse me. Game Breakers, Billy Walters for the Broncos. Luminous, Jonah Pezzett for the Storm. Gold Triumph. Luminous, Matthew Tomoko for the Raiders. League Heads, Big Tino for Titans. Luminous, Luke Metcalf for the Warriors. League Heads, Wade Egan for the Warriors. Luminous, Cameron Munster for Storm. Bang, Latrell Mitchell for the Rabbitohs. Luminous, Sarah Togatuki for the Tigers. Game Breakers, Connor Watson for the Roosters. Luminous, Connolly Lumi Lou for the Dolphins. League Heads for the Storm. Luminous, Samuel Stonestreet for the Sharks. Game breakers, Braden Trindle for the Sharks. Luminous Cameron Murray for the Rabbitohs. Gladiators, Tui Kamika for Storm, number 324. Luminous Tanila Paseka for Manly. League heads, Clinton Gutherson for the Dragons. Luminous Sam Walker for the Roosters. Game breakers, Tyron Wishart for Storm. Luminous John Bateman for the Cowboys. Bang, Bailey Haywood for the Bulldogs. Luminous Jamin Salmon for the Bulldogs. Mercury Dream Baller for the Tigers, number 205. Luminous Brian Kelly for the Titans. Game breakers, Jack Whiten for the Rabbitohs. Luminous Bailey Simonson for the Eels. Colour die cut, Xavier Willison for the Broncos. Luminous Jesse Southwell for the Knights. Oops, sorry. Sam Verrills die cut for Titans. Luminous Casey McLean for Panthers. Bang Lycan King Togia for the Dragons. Luminous Chance Nico Cockstad for the Warriors. League heads, Ruben Garrick for Manly. Luminous Ethan Sanders for Raiders. Game breakers, Max Plath for the Dolphins. Luminous William Kennedy for the Sharks. Game breakers, Scott Drinkwater for the Cowboys. Luminous Jermaine McEwen for the Knights. League heads, Dylan Lucas for the Knights. Luminous Saitili Tupanua for the Bulldogs. Red Triumph, Jason Saab for Manly. Luminous Sean Russell for the Eels. Bang Robert Toya for the Roosters. Luminous Zali Hopkins for the Dragons. League heads, Mitchell Moses for the Eels. Luminous, Kurt Mann for the Bulldogs. Colour die cut, Connor Watson for the Roosters. Luminous, James Tedesco for the Roosters. League heads, Alex Johnston for the Rabbitohs. Luminous, Max Plath for the Dolphins. Alright, box number 8 done and dusted. Here we go, box number 9. League heads, Harry Grant for Storm. Luminous, Herbie Farnworth for the Dolphins. Colour die cut, Corey Horsburgh for the Raiders. Luminous, Dylan Egan for the Dragons. League heads, Scott Drinkwater for the Cowboys. Luminous, Abby Church for the Eels. Bang, Jason Saab for Manly. Luminous, Spencer Leno for the Roosters. League heads, Ezra Mam for the Broncos. Luminous, Matt Burton for the Bulldogs. Gladiators, Jeremiah Nanai for the Cowboys, 126. Luminous, Isaiah Yo for Panthers. Game breakers, Nessa Biddle for the Sharks. Luminous, Dylan Brown for Knights. Mercury, Bradman Best for the Knights, number 258. Luminous, Clinton Gutherson for the Dragons. Bang, Jacob Carraz for the Bulldogs. Luminous, Ben Hunt for Broncos. League heads, Moses Leota for Panthers. Luminous, Asaya Yongi for Eels. Game breakers, Xavier Willison for the Broncos. Luminous, Jack Whiten for the Rabbitohs. Colour die cuts, Jareem Buller for the Tigers. Luminous Jamie Chapman for Titans. Game Breakers, Tui Kamika for Storm. Luminous Jerome Luai for Tigers. League Heads, Chanel Harris Tavita for the Warriors. Luminous Hudson Young for Raiders. Bang Jackson Purdue for the Cowboys. Luminous Aleka Halasima for the Warriors. Game Breakers, Tolator Koala for Manly. Luminous Hammer for the Dolphins. Game Breakers, Isaac Tago for Panthers. Luminous Isabel Kelly for the Roosters. Game Breakers, Vanilla Pole for Tigers. Luminous Dream Buller for Tigers. Red Triumph Chance Nico Klokstad for the Warriors. Luminous Cohen Hess for Cowboys. League Heads Val Holmes for the Dragons. Luminous Nico Hines for the Sharks. Game Breakers, Robert Toya for the Roosters. Luminous Lehe Hopawate for Manly. Gold colour die cut Stefano Utikamanu for Storm. Luminous Morgan Smithies for the Raiders. League Heads Valami Kickout for the Bulldogs. Luminous Dean Mariner for the Broncos. Bang Greg Marsu for the Knights. Luminous Nelson Asafa Solomona for Storm. League Heads Isaiah Katoa for Dolphins. Luminous Alex Johnston for the Rabbitohs. Dally M. Luminous Valami Kickout for the Bulldogs. Game Breakers, Dylan Lucas for the Knights. Luminous Apasai Coruscant for Tigers. League Head Sam Walker for the Roosters. Luminous Angus Crichton for the Roosters. Bang, Cody Walker for the Rabbitohs. Luminous, Jaden Campbell for the Titans. Game breakers, Zach Labour for the Cowboys. Taylor Preston for the Bulldogs. Bang, Alifiana Khan Piera for Titans. Xavier Coate, Luminous for Storm. League Heads, Junior Paulo for the Eels. Luminous Ethan Bullimore for Manly. Colour die cut, Nathan Cleary for Panthers. Luminous Jesse Colquhoun for the Sharks. 3 packets left for box number 9. League Heads, Ethan Strange for the Raiders. Luminous Kurt Capewell for the Warriors. Triumph for the Roosters. Luminous Campbell Graham for the Rabbitohs. League Heads, Jerome Luai for Tigers. And Luminous Ruben Connor for the Cowboys. Box number 10. Game breakers, Jason Tormalolo for the Cowboys. Luminous Loco Tonga for the Dragons. Colour die cut, Dylan Watine Zalesniak for the Warriors. Luminous Luke Brooks for Manly. Red Triumph for the Cowboys. Luminous Asaya Papali'i for Panthers. League Heads, Sebastian Chris for the Raiders. Luminous Isaiah Katoa for the Dolphins. Game breakers, Junior Paulo for the Eels. Luminous Xavier Savage for the Raiders. Gladiators, Sam Verrills for the Titans, number 88. Luminous Georgia Hale for the Titans. League heads, Adam Dewey for the Tigers. Luminous, Josh Kerr for the Dragons. League heads, James Fisher-Harris for the Warriors. Luminous, Cassie Hiku for the Eels. Game changes, Damien Cook for the Dragons. Luminous, Marky Mark for the Roosters. League heads, Kyle Flanagan for the Dragons. Luminous, Tom Gilbert for the Dolphins. Game breakers, Jacob Carraz for the Bulldogs. Luminous, Jacob Carraz for the Bulldogs. Bang, Mitchell Moses for the Eels. Luminous, Wade Egan for the Warriors. Oh, I said Wade instead of Dylan, to be honest. Had to remember which one it was. Game breakers, Yasmin Clydesdale for the Knights. Luminous, Latu Finu for the Tigers. League heads, Adam Whenua Blake for the Sharks. Luminous, Ezra Mam for the Broncos. Mercury, Luke Brooks for Manly, number 163. There we go, Archie. We have got a sleeved hit in the tray. Tommy Dearden, Luminous for the Cowboys. League heads, Tom Gilbert for the Dolphins. Luminous, Jai Arrow for the Rabbitohs. Bang, Jermaine Isako for Dolphins. Luminous, Keanu Kinney for Titans. Colour die cut, Isaiah Yo for Panthers. Luminous, Corey Horsburgh for the Raiders. League heads, Mich Kenny for Panthers. Luminous, Alex Seafarth for the Tigers. Bang, Lehe Hopawate for Manly. Luminous, Keon Kolomatangi for the Rabbitohs. Game breakers, Keezy Apps for the Tigers. Luminous, Ali Latua for the Warriors. Red Triumph, Bronson Sherry for the Bulldogs. Luminous, Jordan Ricky for Broncos. Luke Crook's getting dropped soon. League heads, Campbell Graham for the Rabbitohs. Luminous Jessica Surgis for the Roosters. Colour die cut, Fletcher Sharp for the Knights. Luminous Mitchell Moses for the Eels. Colour die cut, Jack Whiten for the Rabbitohs. Luminous Luciano Leilua for the Dragons. League heads, Tom Darin for the Cowboys. Luminous Katoni Staggs for Broncos. League heads, Lachlan Galvin for the Bulldogs. Luminous Harry Grant for Storm. Game breakers, Isaiah Yo. Renato Molitalo, Luminous for the Sharks. Bang Tamale for the Raiders. Luminous Jacob Saifiti for the Knights. League heads, Angus Crichton for the Roosters. Luminous Zach Labour for the Cowboys. Game breakers, Mitchell Barnett for the Warriors. Luminous Ruben Garrick for Manly. Bang Cameron Munster for Storm. Luminous Mich Kenny for Panthers. League heads, Payne Huss for Broncos. Luminous and Finua Blake for the Sharks. Colour die cut, Hammer for the Dolphins. Luminous Bailey Haywood for the Bulldogs. Bang Ali Latua for the Warriors. Luminous Tyson Brazil for Knights. And last packet for box number 10. Game breakers, Brian Kelly for the Titans. Luminous Jalen DeGroot for the Titans. We are up to box number 11. We still have this one and one more from the case, as well as our 2 hobby boxes. Bang Isaac Tago for Panthers. Luminous Keezy Apps for Tigers. League heads, Mark for the Roosters. Luminous, Cody Walker for the Rabbitohs. League heads, Lehe Hopewate for Manly. Luminous, Scott Drinkwater for Cowboys. Colour die cut, Dylan Walker for the Eels. Luminous, Brighton Nakora for the Sharks. Game breakers, Jalen De Groot for Titans. Kalen Ponga, Luminous for Knights. Bang, Tamir Martin for the Warriors. Luminous, Lycan King Togia for the Dragons. League heads, Apsai Coruscant for Tigers. Isaac Tago, Luminous for Panthers. Red Triumph for the Dolphins. Luminous, Alafiana Khan Kiera for Titans. Game breakers, Corey Horsburgh for the Raiders. Luminous, Damien Cook for the Dragons. Bang, Isaiah Katoa for Dolphins. Luminous, Adam Dewey for Tigers. League heads, Mawaki Fodawaika for Titans. Luminous, Dominic Young for the Knights. Triumph, Ezra Mam for the Broncos. Luminous, Hamoli Olika R2 for Manly. League heads, Ben Hunt for Broncos. Luminous, Lindsay Collins for the Roosters. Game breakers, Terrell May for the Tigers. Mawaki Fodawaika, Luminous for Titans. League heads, Bailey Haywood for the Bulldogs. Luminous, Ali Brigginshaw for the Broncos. Colour die cut, Teague Wilton for the Sharks. Luminous, Jermaine Isako for Dolphins. League heads, Jermaine Isako for Dolphins. Luminous, Jerome Hughes for Storm. Game breakers, Gehamat Shabarsky for Broncos. Luminous, Luca Moretti for the Eels. Bang, Gehamat Shabarsky for Broncos. Luminous, James Fisher-Harris for the Warriors. League heads, Greg Marschall for the Knights. Luminous, Yasmin Clydesdale for the Knights. Colour die cut, Murray Talagi for Cowboys. Luminous, Val Holmes for the Dragons. Game breakers, Isaiah Yongi for the Eels. Big Tino for the Titans. Bang, Ronaldo Mulatalo for the Sharks. Luminous, Kale Iro for the Sharks. League heads, Joash for the Eels. Luminous, Cody Nicarima for the Dolphins. Game breakers, Nita Maynard for the Dragons. Luminous, Liam Martin for Panthers. Colour die cut, Tom Trbojevic for Manly. Luminous, Jason Saab for Manly. Game breakers, Jai Gray for the Rabbitohs. Luminous, Ryan Pappenhausen for Storm. Mercury, Bailey Haywood for the Bulldogs, number 118. Luminous, Gehamat Shabarsky for the Broncos. League heads, Keon Kolomatangi for the Rabbitohs. Luminous, Jacob Preston for the Bulldogs. Game breakers, Matt Burton for the Bulldogs. Luminous, Jeremiah Nanai for Cowboys. Colour die cut, Bronson Sherry for the Bulldogs. Luminous, Addo Carr for Eels. Game breakers, Patricia for the Warriors. Luminous, Robert Toya for the Roosters. Premiership predictor. Oh. League heads, Tom Starling for the Raiders. Luminous, Simona Torfa for the Raiders. 3 packets left for the box. Bang, Joash for the Eels. Luminous, Tamir Martin for Warriors. Gladiators, Moses Sulai for the Dragons, number 399. Luminous Jai Grey for the Rabbitohs. Last pack for the box. League heads, William Kennedy for the Sharks. Reed Marnie, Luminous for Cowboys. Alright, we're up to lucky last, box number 12. And I say lucky last, it is only the last one out of the case. We still have our 2 hobby boxes to go. So let's get into them. I've got to have a quick drink to finish this. Here we go, last packet in the case. Game breakers, Lachlan Ilias for the Dragons. Luminous, Luca Moretti for the Eels. League heads, Connor Watson for the Roosters. Luminous, James Fisher-Harris for the Warriors. Mercury, Jack Bostock for the Dolphins, number 416. Luminous, Yasmin Clydesdale for the Knights. Colour die cut, Braden Trindle for the Sharks. Luminous, Val Holmes for the Dragons. Red Triumph, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck for the Warriors. Luminous, Hammer for the Dolphins. League heads, KO Weeks for Raiders. Luminous, Big Tino for Titans. Game breakers, Blake Brayley for the Sharks. Luminous, Cal Iro for the Sharks. League heads, Kurt Mann for the Bulldogs. Luminous, Keezy Apps for the Tigers. Colour die cut, Reece Walsh for the Broncos. Luminous, Brian Nakora for the Sharks. Game breakers, Ryan Pappenhausen for the Storm. Gold die cut, Cohen Hess for the Cowboys. League heads, Moses Sulai for the Dragons. Luminous, Cody Walker for the Rabbitohs. Bang, Xavier Savage for the Raiders. Luminous, Kalen Ponga for the Knights. Game breakers, Connor Tracy for the Bulldogs. Luminous, Lycan King Toya for the Dragons. League heads, Ryan Pappenhausen for Storm. Isaac Tago, Luminous for Panthers. Triumph for the Dolphins, Hammer. Luminous, Callaghan Kampi Error for Titans. League heads, Fletcher Sharp for the Knights. Luminous, Addo Carr for the Eels. Game breakers, Tamika Upton for the Broncos. Robert Toya, Luminous for the Roosters. Bang, Herbie Farmworth for Dolphins. Luminous, Samima Torfa for the Raiders. Bang, Stephen Crichton for the Bulldogs. Get it out. Luminous, Nico Hines for Sharks. League heads, Sam Verrills for the Titans. Luminous, Lehe Hopawate for Manly. Game breakers, Taylor Preston for the Bulldogs. Smithies, Luminous for the Raiders. League heads, Isaiah Yo for Panthers, and Luminous, Dean Mariner for the Broncos. Before we go any further, what was I checking? Can't remember what I was going to check. Game breakers, Zach Lomax for the Eels. Luminous, Isabel Kelly for Roosters. Gladiators, Dylan Edwards for Panthers. Number 425. Luminous, Nelson Sofa Solomona for Storm. League heads, Murata Nakor for the Warriors. Luminous, Alex Johnston for the Rabbitohs. Die cut Philip Semi for the Titans. Luminous Leka Halasima for the Warriors. Die cut, no, Luminous Game Breakers, Phoenix Crossland for the Knights. Luminous Villani Riccia for the Bulldogs. Thank God I'm not playing for money here, I'd be showing. Colour die cut Brian To'o for Panthers. Luminous Apasai Coruscant for the Tigers. League heads Jack Whiten for the Rabbitohs. Luminous Liam Martin for Panthers. Bang Chanel Harris Tavita for the Warriors. Luminous Scott Drinkwater for the Cowboys. League heads Brian To'o for Panthers. Luminous Cody Nikarima for Dolphins. Got 5 packets left for the box. Bang Ruben Garrick for Manly. Jason Saab, Luminous for Manly. League heads Jerome Luai for Tigers. Luminous Ryan Pappenhausen for Storm. Making a mess. Colour die cut Ryan Pappenhausen for Storm. Luminous Gahamat Shabarsky for Broncos. Game Breakers, Brian To'o for Panthers. Yep. Jacob Preston, Luminous for the Bulldogs. Alright, lucky last for our case. Bang Zach Lomax for Eels. Luminous Jeremiah Nanai for the Cowboys. Alright. Just a bit too tall. It's a bit of pain. Oh. Shocker. Making a mess everywhere. Alright guys, we are up to our 2 hobby boxes. So not long left now. Let's get into them. This heat's getting to me out here. I can't wait to close up and get the aircon from inside the house pumping out here. Let's go. Second last box. First up, Blake Brayley. Luminous for the Sharks, number 244. And we have Tortorkawala, gold die cut, number 37 for Manly. Luminous Fletcher Sharp for the Knights, number 654. Whew. Luminous Xavier Willison for the Broncos, number 128. Gold die cut Hudson Young for the Raiders, number 217. Luminous Tommy Turbo, number 724. Playmakers Griffin Neem for the Cowboys, number 35. Luminous Latrell Mitchell for the Rabbitohs, number 792. And we have a Dally M predictor in wildcard. So we'll be putting that one there till the end. Luminous Connor Tracy for the Bulldogs, number 35. Luminous Roger Tuivasa Chet for the Warriors, number 566. We have a Dylan Edwards in the etched, number 118. Luminous Tiana Penatani Gray for the Sharks. Luminous Terrell May for the Tigers, 128. Luminous gold die cut Dylan Lucas, 127 for the Knights. Luminous Tui Kamikamika for Storm, number 524. Luminous Jake Trbojevic, number 450 for Manly. Etched Tom Gilbert for Dolphins, number 8. Luminous Sean Kepi for the Rabbitohs, number 703. Mercury Sterling, Jaden Campbell for the Titans, number 46. Just on that, while we're talking about him, seen a post from Helensvale Hornets where Jaden Campbell played as a junior club. Not sure where Preston played as a junior, but back in 2018, Preston and Jaden both took to the field together in a game. One of those things, it would have been nice to be there to see that. Tegan Berry Luminous for the Dragons, number 592. Bit random, something I seen this morning when I woke up. Gold die cut Dream Buller for the Tigers, number 21. Luminous White for the Roosters, number 383. Gladiators Kurt Mann for the Bulldogs, number 111. Luminous Jack Bostock for the Dolphins. Gold die cut number 205 for the Dolphins. And the Luminous was 189. Luminous Lindsay Smith for Panthers, number 453. Etched Jalen de Groot, number 72 for Titans. Luminous Murray Talagi for Cowboys, number 650. Gold die cut Sua Wong for the Roosters, number 118. Yeah, I personally would not be buying hobby packs singly. Too expensive to be hitting a numbered Luminous. Luminous Chanel Harris Tavita for the Warriors, number 60. Alright, that is box number 1 of number 2. Let's get our second hobby box done and dusted. And this is the last box of the case, of the break. All over the shop. I've been here for just over 3 hours. Will Penasini, Luminous for the Eels, number 58. I've enjoyed the chat today. It's been good. Jonah Pezzett, Luminous for Storm, number 182. Etched Hammer for the Dolphins, 109. Just a reminder before we get to the end, guys, there was 2 spots left in 432 before we went live, and that was Dolphins and Titans. Matthew Tomoko, Luminous for the Raiders, number 45. We have a Black Triumph, so you can keep that one to the end as well. Luminous John Bateman for the Cowboys. Gold die cut Matt Burton for the Bulldogs. Luminous Jamin Salmon for the Bulldogs. Gold Gladiators Adam Reynolds for the Broncos, number 66. Luminous Cameron Munster for Storm, number 371. Gold die cut David Clemmer for Dragons, number 68. Luminous Brian Kelly for Titans, number 554. Luminous Bailey Simonson for the Eels, number 195. Etched Aaron Clark for the Warriors, 136. Luminous Jesse Southwell for the Knights, number 426. Luminous Luke Metcalf for the Warriors, number 446. Gold die cut Jordan Ricky for the Broncos, number 224. Luminous Sarah Togatuki for Tigers, number 496. And in the Playmakers, Alafiana Khan Piera for Titans, number 98. Luminous Connolly Lumi Lou for the Dolphins. Luminous Samuel Stonestreet for the Sharks. Gold die cut Nathan Cleary for Panthers. Luminous Tanila Paseka for Manly. Etched Bronson Sherry for the Bulldogs, number 36. Alright, where are we up to? 4 packets left for the break. Luminous Sam Walker for the Roosters, number 71. Luminous Mitchell Barnett for the Warriors, number 556. Oh, don't even. My shirt is damp all over. Jack Whiten gold die cut, number 53. Only 2 packets left, so we're good. We're almost there. Yeah. Luminous Ben Trebojevic for Manly, Number 524. Gotta love that. He walks out here for 2 seconds. Need the aircon back. Tell me about it. Mercury Sterling. Nelson Asafa Solomona. Number 68. We did have the builder rock up earlier and drop off some materials, as I said at the time. So we are getting closer. Almost done. Luminous Sanua Taruva for Tigers. Number 633. And last but not least, out of the packs, we have William Kennedy in the gold die cut for Sharks. Number 150. All right. All packets are open. So now it's time to go through these hits on the table, starting with our first one. Number 238. Dally M Predictor. Xavier Savage for the Raiders. And next up is the instant win. But first, let's bring up the team list because I like to know. Joseph Romeo with the Dally M. New name. A couple of new names in here actually. I'm spewing that I got rid of the team list. Damien Clements. Not sure if there's any relation, but one of our favourite teachers, and I say ours because Dad had him in high school, and then when I came through high school, I had him as well at Marylands High. Mr. Ian Clements. If he's any relation, he's a top bloke. We love him. So, if not, you're a Clements. We'll put you in the same boat anyway. Chayce Williams for the Tigers with the instant win. Clive Churchill Predictor, number 18. For the Knights, Johnny D. Moving along, Dally M Predictor, number 150. It is wild card for the Rabbitohs, Michael Callaghan. Once again, guys, I will remind everyone, please join the Facebook group. Number one, I can tag you when we are going live, when we're set a time and things like that. And number two, we have the Facebook group exclusive giveaways. If you're not in the Facebook group, you can't get your entry in. All right, Gold Triumph, number 29. Val Holmes for the Dragons. Number 29 hiding up there in the corner if we can see it. 4 to go. Dally M Predictor. All the twos, triple two. Terrell May for the Tigers. And still moving through, Premiership Predictor, triple one. All the ones for the Sharks. Daniel Green, another new one. Oh, no. And when I say new, I mean new to the breaks. Although I do pick orders, I don't pay attention to names. My job is to get those cards out and ready to go. So triple one Sharks Premiership Predictor in the gold. All right, our first hobby, Dally M wild card, number 10 for the Bulldogs. Bulldogs, Kyle Hunt. And our last hit for the break is our Black Triumph, number 37. And yes, another new name, Carina Spiteri. with Storm hitting the Munster. Congratulations, number 37. Up there in the corner. Not that it's easy to spot. Alright guys, well that's the end of this one. Thank you to everyone for joining us. Don't forget to check out the available spots on the website and get your entry into the Pick the Score giveaway. If you haven't already joined the group, do that now. There's no new member requests, but I will accept you pretty quickly. Just make sure you answer all the questions. Even if you're not a customer, just answer no. Because if you don't answer all the questions, Facebook will automatically decline you anyway.